Halton. Welcome to another episode of Healthy Minds, Healthy Lives. I'm your host, Nadirah Nazeer. Today, my guest is Diana Petrini. She's an executive and leadership coach. Diana, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Nadirah.
So first of all, what does an executive and leadership coach do?
Oh, great question. I think the best way that I can answer it is I partner with leaders in all levels of leadership to make their best decisions when the stakes are highest.
Okay. So we talked earlier about one of the ways you help them is through life purpose and integrity that assists them with their mental health. Because at the end of the day, they are on top of their game. They need to make sure that the mental mindset is sharp, is on top, so that they're making the right decision. So how do you guide an executive through their life purpose?
Well, there's a great exercise. First of all, I love what you said about mindset, because when your mindset is clear, you are in a much better space to make your best decisions. And so I use this exercise. I have my own version of this life purpose exercise that was created by a guy named Adam Leipzig. He actually has a TEDx talk about it called Get Your Life Purpose in 5 Minutes. And so I take executives through 5 questions. And they're really great questions, and your viewers could. Those questions are as follows. Number 1, who am I? Number 2, what do I do? Number 3, who do I do it for? Number 4, do they want? And 5, how do they benefit or how are they transformed by what I do? And what's interesting about these 5 questions is that if you noted, only the first 2 life purpose questions are about you as an individual. And the other 3 are about somebody else, the people that you serve. Because what we find is that we are most fulfilled in life. We reach our life purpose when people want the thing that we are compelled to do.
That's very true. So a lot mentioned the 5 questions, but the first one is who I am. A lot of time people are just stuck on that very first.
Nadirah, you're so good, so astute and perceptive. Absolutely. So oftentimes this is an exercise that we generally do together, because if I give this exercise as homework, I always say, please do not get stuck on question number 1, because it is the biggest existential question that there is. Who am I? And you get trapped in there forevermore, go down a deep rabbit hole. So you can answer it as simply as just your name. And then when we work together, we may start working with things like assessment results to kind of craft your identity. So for instance, in my case, and it depends on the way that you want to play it, but when I answer the question, who I am, also use, by the way, my title, but I generally try and steer away from one's title, because that is dynamic. It only stays the current job that you have, and we want your life to extend past your current job. But when I think of myself, for instance, I may call myself a strategist or an innovator, or if I'm feeling a little bit more coquettish, I'll call myself a loving grenade. Because one of the things that I like to do is to throw the bomb and blow up your perceptions or current beliefs about social structures or what reality is or what is possible.
So you mentioned something. When you ask somebody who they are, they normally tell you the job that they're doing, their title.
Mm.
Right? A lot of the time when people who are in transitions of jobs, they feel very lost. Society identifies us by the job that we do. But I truly believe we are just the title and the work that we do. And in addition to that, as you go in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, you're constantly transforming yourself and changing who you are. As a coach, what is your advice for somebody to constantly reevaluate who they are and what they are becoming?
Mm. Well, I love the way that bringing transformation and growth into there. So yes, we are dynamic beings. Are never just our title. In fact, that's one of these old traditional thoughts that we are steering away from as we move away from industrialization philosophies to modern philosophies that really encapsulate who is a person, what is their value, what are they capable of bringing into the world. So again, the exercise is to start thinking about, who do you want to serve? Who are you serving? That part will never, ever, that question will never fail to serve you in getting some clarity on where you belong in the world. And it's one of these exercises and questions that you can ask yourself that become an internal anchor. Because to your very good point, Nadirah, the external world is constantly changing, right? In the .com world in the 90s, if you were a computer programmer, you were in a very important, you were in a very stable career. If you, in the 80s, if you were an engineer, this was the most stable and coveted career. Today, those options are much more vast. You can express the same life purpose and direction in a multitude of different jobs. But as long as you remember who it is that you're trying to serve, and let's bring it to maybe the next point, which is that part of integrity, that wholeness. If you are in agreement with yourself, that means that there's congruence between the thing that you say that you are, or this thing that the person that you say who you are, and the person that, and the intentions that you say that you have are in agreement with the things that you are actually doing and the direction in which you're actually moving, then you are in a stable and intentional space. I want to give you an example, if that's okay.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Okay, a great anecdote that I like to bring up. So a guy walks into a forest and he sees a tree, and on that tree is a painted target, and right in the middle is an arrow, right in the bullseye. And he looks at it and he says, impressive. He walks a little further into the forest. He sees another tree with another target, with another arrow right in the bullseye. In fact, the further along into the forest he goes, he keeps seeing full of trees with painted targets, with arrows every time in the bullseye. And he's thinking, who did this? Finally, he comes across a boy with a quiver of arrows and a bucket of paint. And he says, boy, are you responsible for this? And the boy says, yes, I am. And the man says, please, you must tell me how you did it. And he says, okay, listen up. He says, first, I draw the arrow. Then I shoot. And then I paint the target. Oftentimes, we are looking at the world where the result looks right, but there isn't an integrity because it isn't in incongruence with intention. And this is what results in a lot of people's dissatisfaction in their lives and lack of meaning. And so the work that we do when we work on integrity, which is creating that internal agreement and creating a direction of intention to go, we help people feel much more satisfied with their lives and the external world and the internal world, and they can then make much better decisions.
Absolutely, because life purpose really help you with your mental wellness. And one other thing for our viewers, if you're still stuck in who I am, here's a little exercise that I have personally done in the past and asked other friends to do. Send a text to a few of your friends that you're close to, and more importantly, you value their opinion. Send them a text and ask them, tell me my top 5 qualities. Just focus on the positive. Tell me how you see me, because how we see ourselves and how others see us is very different. So ask your friends, tell me my top 5 qualities. And within these answers, there will be a common denominator. And that will then start helping you to discover yourself, your new self. What do you think of that?
Oh, I think it's absolutely fabulous. And I think that it's a great way to also get some acknowledgement and validation for who you are to others, the impact that you have on others. I love that. I might put that into my little satchel of tools.
I'm glad I'm able to help you there, because what I find helps is that things that used to bring us joy before, as we get older, as we've completed certain life purpose, it doesn't bring us joy anymore. So we are at this intersection when we go, okay, I used to do that and I used to feel a certain way, but I don't feel that same way. I don't feel elated anymore. I'm not getting that dopamine rush. What is it that I need to do next? So that's kind of one example, because as you're changing, your friends see you change, right? What are other things that is in your tool set that you will encourage somebody to discover so that they can continuously continue living their life purpose?
Well, that's an interesting question, because I ask myself, is it a different exercise? I think that much of what coaching is an exploration. And so I think that it would become a set of questions to look. In fact, as you were saying it, I immediately became curious, and I'm like, what, Nadirah, is something that you loved to do that is no longer bringing you those same feelings of elation as it once did? And what do you think has changed there? Because, one of the things that's important to remember as a coach is that we are really pulling from the wisdom of our clients. We may offer them some tips and tools and some expert exercises to help them get to their own answers, but people really know. Sometimes they don't have the language to express the feelings that they have. In fact, that these clarity exercises, a big part of what they do is that they take the wisdom that you have from the land of ideas that's in your head, and they force them out of a funnel into a more real world of language. And in doing so, it gains resonance, and it actually resolves some of these questions for people. I have here a rubber duck. I stole this from my children, fair and square. And the reason I have it is I found a meme recently, which is there's a term called rubber ducking that was created by programmers, computer programmers, I believe. And what they do is they use this exercise of rubber ducking in order to find errors in their codes. So the process of what they do is that they literally speak aloud to a literal rubber duck, explain what they are building, and in doing so, in bringing their ideas from the land of ideas into the land of language, they are able to find errors/solutions to the problems that they have. So maybe a long-winded way to get to your answer is, I think, speaking words to power and speaking those ideas into existence helps people reconnect with what's important to them.
So Diana, I'm going to be vulnerable sharing this right now. So I'm going through menopause. And it's not an easy thing. And I'm trying to normalize this whole menopause conversation. And I'm sure as a coach, or how you coach female versus female could be different, because estrogen has left my body. And how I used to feel about certain things has changed. And I don't think it's me, it's the fact that it's hormonal. I now need to adapt to that change and figure out redefining my new self. What else should I be doing to bring me joy? And how do I manage that hormones, that change in my body? Because oftentimes I find that when something is changing, it's not necessarily environment, but it's hormonal.
First of all, let me share with you so that you are not alone. We are together in this process. My body is going through some fantastical changes that really, I wonder, is this reality or am I in a fairy tale, some kind of fantastic universe where I am becoming this new being? And I am noting, and I wonder if I'm picking this up in the way that you're in what you're saying, or if I'm projecting. So do let me know if I'm connecting with you here, is that there's a kind of mourning of I don't want to, or hesitance. I don't want to let go of the things that I had, but I must. And so maybe what I could offer to you and me is the question of what is possible now that wasn't possible before? What is a new anchor of identity that you can get to? Because I'll tell you, one that won't be acceptable to me is I will not choose a new reality that makes me less than something than I was before. I only accept more than.
100% with you. Absolutely. We can do greater things, but I think as a community, we need to support each other with the changes, and we need to normalize. And I think as a coach, you probably approach things differently to what you said earlier. Everything is in here. You're just trying to make sure that they verbalize it. But sometimes it may be in here, but it's changing. It's changing because your hormones is changing, especially from a female perspective, to get you to say, to now figure out, okay, who's my new self? I need to discover this new version of me and embrace it fully.
Nadirah, may I ask you, how are you, because we are in your world now, and here you are an expert on health and beauty. Share with me and your listeners, what are you noting to embrace? What are you connecting to as you rediscover yourself?
So here's what I've decided to do. I'm 50, proudly 50. I've decided to prioritize my health. I'm now going to the gym more regularly, at least 4 times a week. I drink my 2 liters of water. I make sure that I eat healthy 80% of the time, because the 20%, I love food. I'm a big foodie, so I'm going to eat whatever I want that 20%, but 80% I'm going to eat. By doing those simple things, I find it's really clearing up my mind. My mind used to be a bit foggy. It's not anymore.
Oh.
It's cleared it up. I feel more alert. I feel like my older version when it comes mentally. Of course, physically, you're not exactly the same. You're a bit more sore, a little bit more joint pains. It comes with a bit of aging. And I've already upped my supplements. So I do a blood test every 6 months. I check everything, and I need to make sure that I'm taking every supplements that I need. And I have this big list of supplements that I take on a daily basis or twice a week. But I've prioritized my physical health, my mental health through diet and exercise, and also making sure that I take care of my gut health. I find as you do these things, I know we're talking about life purpose. You will then organically kind of rediscover your new self and your new purpose.
And I really like where you're pointing us, Nadirah, because I think that, well, I know that all of these things are interconnected. And so beginning a focus anywhere, there's do you know how planets are created? It's best if you say no. It's best if you are not a subject matter expert on my on my analogies. That's always safest. But essentially, planets are gaseous particles in space that begin to circulate around one another. And then eventually, two gaseous molecules will connect, and then others will connect to it, and then they'll cool, and then they'll become a solid, and then more molecules will connect until finally you have a thing. And what is interesting about this is it doesn't matter which two molecules connect first. To that end, beginning to focus and setting intention in any one direction any one area that is going to benefit you is going to set off a chain reaction in all of the other areas. Because putting that much focus and intention and consistency into it changes who you are as a person, right? Physiology connects to physiology informs psychology and vice versa. So if you begin with physiology, it's going to affect your psychology, which will just strengthen that cycle. It sounds to me like you're building a beautiful new planet.
I am. And I think I encourage all the women out there, even male or female, if you're stuck, you're not sure what to do next, focus on you. If you don't know who you are, just focus on you. Exercise, invest in you. Exercise, eat healthy, read, listen to podcasts, nature walk. As you do that, things will come clear. Right? That's going back to your first question as to who I am. I know we have a few minutes left here. Let me ask you this question. What is your top 3 advice for executive out there?
Well, number 1 is, you heard the 5 questions. I'll repeat them. Get some answers to them. Who am I? What do I do? Who do I do it for? What do they want? And how do they benefit or transform by what I do? Or you can look up Adam Leipzig's TED Talk about it. Number 2, be in agreement with yourself. That is in integrity. Do the things that you say that you do. If you do those things, physiology informing psychology, you are going to become those things. And finally, maybe to your good point, Nadirah, is get a focus. Start with one thing. A planet takes a lot of one molecule at a time. Choose one area, improve it. It will help you bring you to the next space.
And I want to go back to integrity. Integrity is absolutely important. You want to make sure your words mean something. So we have a mutual friend, which is related to you, Senator Condinino. He always said to me, Nadirah, your words is everything. If your words doesn't mean anything, then you have zero integrity. So whatever you say, make sure you follow through on it.
Yeah, he's a wise man, and it certainly informed his life. He's had a lot of unbelievably great accomplishments, and that event in which we met, we got to see how much people have been impacted positively by him, and the appreciation and outpouring of love that he received. I think he's proven that there's weight to that wisdom.
And for my viewers today, if you remember one thing from this show, just remember that your words needs to mean something. It absolutely have to mean something. When you say something, follow through, follow up, come through with it. And that's what's going to build the integrity of your ecosystem. Diana, any parting words here? We got 2 minutes left on the show.
No, thank you so much, Nadirah. I'm so glad that you shared of yourself in this. I think that that's been special for me. And I think that I've gotten some nuggets of wisdom to take with me as well. So thank you for that.
The one sending your friends a text and asking them about you.
I like it. I'm going to use it.
And on the other side, if you're strong enough, and you should be a big girl to handle this, ask them, what can you improve on?
That's the advance. That's the bonus step, right? Where can you point me?
Yes. What can I improve on? What are my areas of opportunity? But be a big girl, be able to handle it, because you're just coming from a place of love. But Diana, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your wisdom. Really appreciate it. And for those people who wants to reach out to you, we'll have your name, your social media. They can reach out to you if they have any questions or need some advice from you. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Nadirah.
And for my viewers, I always look forward to sharing some nuggets, wisdom in regards to your mental health and wellness, especially in the world that we live today. It's so hectic, it's so crazy. We're constantly reinventing ourselves. I'm hopeful that the information that we shared today somehow resonate with you and help you in bettering yourself and creating a new version of yourself. So thank you so much for joining me today. And on that note, stay positive and start believing.